the doctor said. "You're pregnant." My husband's face lit up, until his mother laughed and said, "That's impossible. My son had surgery last year." My heart started racing as Mark turned pale. "Tell me she's lying," he whispered. I pulled out a piece of paper and said, "Then explain this." His jaw dropped. His mother fainted. I never imagined my life would take such a turn. "My name is Anna. I'm 32 and from Chicago. I'm married to Mark, who's 34. We've been together for 10 years and have 2 amazing kids, Emma 8 and Noah 6. After Noah was born, we agreed that our family felt complete. Mark decided to undergo a procedure, and I fully supported him. He told me it was done, and I trusted him. Lately I hadn't been feeling well. Nausea, fatigue and mood swings. At first I thought it was just stress or maybe a passing bug. But when I missed my period, I started to worry. I took a pregnancy test just to rule it out. Sitting in the bathroom, I watched the seconds tick by, heart pounding. Then I looked down. 2 bold lines. Pregnant. I was shocked, confused and scared. How was this even possible? Mark had surgery. That evening, after the kids were in bed, I sat Mark down in the living room. I handed him the test. "I'm pregnant," I said quietly. Mark's face went white. "That's not possible," he whispered. "Well, it's happening," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. He looked at the test, then at me. "Are you sure it's mine?" It felt like a slap in the face. "How can you even ask me that? I had surgery," he snapped. "And I trusted you," I shot back. "But here we are." We sat in heavy silence. Finally, Mark said, "Maybe we should see the doctor together. There has to be an explanation." I agreed. We booked an appointment for the next day. At the doctor's office, I took another test. The result was the same. I was pregnant. Mark looked stunned. "Doctor, I had a procedure 2 years ago. How is this possible?" The doctor looked at him, then at me. "No method is 100% effective," he explained. "There's a rare chance of something called recanalization, where the tubes reconnect. It's uncommon, but it can happen." Mark looked relieved. "So it's possible?" The doctor nodded. "We'll run some tests to be sure." We left the office in silence. At home, Mark turned to me. "I'm sorry I doubted you," he said. I nodded, tears in my eyes. "I just need time to process everything." The next few days were quiet. The tension between us was overwhelming. I felt betrayed, lost, and deeply hurt. I decided to stay with my sister for a while, to clear my head. She listened patiently as I poured everything out. "You need to do what's best for you and the kids," she said. I nodded. "I just don't know if I can trust him again." "Take your time," she said gently. Days turned into weeks. Mark kept reaching out, apologizing, asking me to come home, but I wasn't ready. Then one evening, there was a knock at my sister's door. It was Mark. "Can we talk?" he asked. I hesitated, then nodded. We sat on the porch. "I messed up," he began. "I should have been honest about the surgery. I was scared. I didn't want more kids, but I didn't want to lose you either." I looked at him, searching his face. "Trust is broken." Mark nodded. "I know, but I want to rebuild the trust, for Emma, for Noah, and for the baby." Tears streamed down my face. "I need time." "Take all the time you need," he said softly. As weeks passed, we began attending counseling sessions. The road was long and full of emotion, but we were committed to healing. Months later, as I held our newborn daughter in my arms, I realized something important. Trust takes years to build, seconds to break, but with effort and love, it can be rebuilt. We were trying therapy, talking more, being present for the kids, taking things slow. Things between Mark and me weren't perfect, but we were making progress. I was home again. Emma and Noah seemed happy, and our newborn Sophie brought a warmth to my heart I hadn't felt in a long time. But 3 months after Sophie was born, the real storm hit. It started with a bill. One sleepy afternoon, running on barely any rest, I was sorting through the mail when one envelope caught my eye. A medical bill from a private clinic I didn't recognize. Mark's name was on it. Without thinking, I opened it. $340. Consultation fee procedure. Vasectomy reversal inquiry. 2 weeks before Sophie's birth. My hands went cold. My stomach dropped. I just sat there staring at the paper, reading it over and over. After a long pause, I picked up my phone. I called the clinic, pretending to be Mark's assistant. "Hi, I'm just confirming what the consultation was about." The receptionist replied, Yes, he came in asking about reversing a previous vasectomy. We don't do the procedure here, so we referred him to a specialist. But as far as I know, he never followed up. Said it was just for information. I thanked her and hung up. I couldn't breathe. He lied. Twice. First, he never had the vasectomy. Second, when I told him I was pregnant, he acted shocked. But he already knew it was possible. 2 weeks before my due date, he was researching reversals. He knew. That night, I confronted him. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I simply handed him the bill. Explain this. He stared at it, then at me. I just wanted to know if it could be done, he said. I was thinking, maybe someday, I'd change my mind. You were thinking about reversing a vasectomy you told me you already had. I asked slowly. He looked like a trapped animal. You let me believe Sophie was a miracle. You let me think I was losing my mind. You acted like you were blindsided, but you knew. You knew it was possible, because you never even had the procedure. Silence. I felt a kind of rage I had never known. Not even when I first saw that positive test. Not even when he asked if the baby was his. This was different. This was betrayal, stretched across years. You made me question my own body. You made me question my own character. Mark opened his mouth to speak. I stood up. No, don't. I'm done for tonight. I packed a bag and went to stay at my friend Mia's place. She had a spare room, and didn't ask any questions when she saw my face. The next morning, I called a lawyer. That's when everything flipped again. While going through our finances, the lawyer found something I had never seen before. A personal loan Mark took out a few months ago. $10,000. I had never seen that money. It wasn't in our joint account. He hadn't even mentioned the loan. When I confronted him, he hesitated, and said it was for home repairs. What repairs? I asked. He couldn't answer. A week later, Mia and I were driving on the south side. We passed a small apartment complex. Outside, a woman stood with a stroller. Then Mark walked out of the building. He kissed the woman on the cheek, picked up the baby in her arms. I froze. Time stopped. Mia whispered, "Do you want me to drive away?" "No," I said. And I got out of the car. I walked across the street. Mark didn't see me until I was just a few steps away. His face turned white. "Who is this?" I asked. The woman looked confused. I'm Tasha, and you are?" "I'm his wife." Her eyes widened. "I'm sorry." "What?" I turned to Mark. "You want to explain, or should I?" Tasha stepped back, holding the baby closer. "Wife. You said you were divorced." Mark didn't say a word. I laughed loudly, bitterly. Right there on the sidewalk. Mark was living a second life, a second baby. He had reversed the vasectomy. He had lied about everything. His lies were layered like bricks, and I was buried underneath them. Tasha looked between him and me. "This baby is 6 months old. Sophie, my daughter, was only 3. That meant he got Tasha pregnant before he even knew I was." Mark looked like he wished the ground would swallow him whole. Tasha began crying. I just stood there, numb. Mia gently touched my shoulder. "You ready?" she asked. I nodded. I didn't say another word to Mark. We walked away. 3 hours later, I got a Facebook message. It was from Tasha. She said she had no idea he was married. Said she wanted to meet and talk. I agreed. The next day, we met at a diner. She brought everything. Receipts, texts, photos, proof they'd been together for over a year. He told her we were separated and finalizing a divorce. Said I was emotionally unstable. Said he couldn't see his kids because of custody drama. He even used Sophie's due date to convince Tasha that her baby had come first. He twisted everything. She apologized over and over. I believed her. She was blindsided too. I told her, "This isn't your fault." He played both of us. That night, I started writing everything down. Every date, every lie, every dollar, every late night, every missed call, every excuse. I wasn't going to cry anymore. I was going to document it all. This wasn't just betrayal. This was a war. I thought I had seen the worst of it. I thought finding out about the second baby, the secret apartment, the double life, I thought that was rock bottom. I was wrong. 2 weeks after I met with Tasha, she messaged me again. "Can we meet? It's urgent. It's about something else, something big." We met at the same diner. Her hands were shaking as she slid her phone across the table. "It's about money," she said. I looked down. There were screenshots, bank statements, and transfers from my husband's account into hers. Thousands. At least $6,000. But I didn't ask for this, she said quickly. He said it was to help with the baby. That it was extra from his business. He said you two weren't tied financially anymore. I scrolled through them all, then froze. There was one transaction that caught my eye. $1,200 to a woman named Sandy G. The description: therapy sessions. I'd heard that name before. Sandy G was the name I saw on a flyer a year ago. She wasn't a therapist. She was a fertility consultant who worked discreetly with men trying to reverse vasectomies, often outside the system. Basically, a cash deal off the books. He had never gone to a real doctor for the reversal. He paid someone privately, illegally. That's why nothing showed up in our insurance or official records. My mouth went dry. Do you know if she's real? I asked. Tasha nodded. I called her, pretending to be someone else. She confirmed he came in, paid cash, and had it done. He planned this, I said, my voice shaking. All of it. You, me, both pregnancies, all of it. She looked stunned. Wait, you think he wanted this to happen? Not by accident, I said. On purpose. He wanted both. Then I remembered something. Something small, stupid, but now it felt like a clue. 6 months before I got pregnant, Mark had started acting extra kind. He brought me coffee in bed, took the kids out more, was affectionate again after months of being distant. And during that time, we stopped using protection. He said it was safe, because he had the vasectomy. But now, I knew that was a lie. He knew I wanted another baby. I had said it a few times over the years, usually in passing. He always said no. But what if? What if he used that? What if he planned it like a trap? Get me pregnant again, while also having another baby with someone else, to force some twisted family setup. My head was spinning. That night, I went through his laptop while he was at work. It was easier than I thought. He never changed the password. Same one since college. Inside one folder labeled Taxes 2021, there were screenshots, emails and notes. He had written down everything. Schedules for me and the kids, when I was home, when I wasn't, meal plans, appointments, even things about Tasha, due dates, birth plans. There was a document titled New Future Planned. I opened it, and what I read made me feel sick. If this works, I'll have 2 families. She'll forgive me once the baby comes. She always forgives me. Tasha doesn't ask questions. He manipulated everything. She apologized repeatedly, and I believed her. She was blindsided too. I told her, this isn't your fault. He played both of us. That night, I began documenting everything. Every date, every lie, every dollar, every late night, every missed call, every excuse. I wasn't going to cry anymore. I was going to track it all. This wasn't just betrayal. This was a war. I thought I'd seen the worst of it. I thought that discovering the second baby, the secret apartment, the double life, that was rock bottom. I was wrong. 2 weeks after meeting with Tasha, she messaged me again. Can we meet? It's urgent. It's about something else. Something big. We met at the same diner. Her hands were shaking as she slid her phone across the table. It's about money, she said. I looked down. There were screenshots, bank statements, and transfers from my husband's account to hers. Thousands of dollars. At least $6,000. But I didn't ask for this, she said quickly. He said it was to help with the baby, that it was extra from his business. He said you guys weren't financially tied anymore. I scrolled through everything, and then I froze. One transaction caught my eye. $1,200 to a woman named Sandy G. The description read therapy sessions, but I'd heard that name before. Sandy G was someone I saw on a flyer a year ago. She wasn't a therapist. She was a fertility consultant who worked discreetly with men trying to reverse vasectomies, often outside of the system. A cash under the table setup. He had never gone to a real doctor for the reversal. He paid someone privately, off the books. That's why nothing showed up in our insurance or official records. My mouth went dry. Do you know if she's real? I asked. Tasha nodded. I called her, pretending to be someone else. She confirmed that Mark had come in, paid cash, and had the procedure done. He planned this all along, I said, my voice shaking. All of it. You, me. Both pregnancies. Everything. Tasha looked stunned. Wait, you think he wanted this to happen? She asked. Not by accident. I said. On purpose. He wanted both. Then I remembered something. Something small, stupid, but now it felt like a clue. 6 months before I got pregnant, Mark had started acting extra kind. He brought me coffee in bed, took the kids out more, and was affectionate again after months of being cold. During that time, we stopped using protection. He said it was safe, because he had the vasectomy, but now I knew that was a lie. He knew I wanted another baby. I had mentioned it a few times over the years, usually in passing. He always said no, but what if he used that? What if he planned it like a trap, get me pregnant again, while also having another baby with someone else, to force some twisted family setup? My head was spinning. That night, I went through his laptop while he was at work. It was easier than I thought. He never changed the password. It was the same one he'd used since college. Inside one folder labeled Taxes 2021 were screenshots, emails and notes he had written. Everything about schedules for me and the kids, when I was home, when I wasn't, meal plans, appointments, even things about Tasha, due dates, birth plans. There was a document titled New Future Planned. I opened it, and what I read made me want to throw up. If this works, I'll have 2 families. She'll forgive me once the baby comes. She always forgives me. Tasha doesn't ask questions. He had planned it all. Not just a mistake, not just an affair, but a calculated double life. He saw me as a piece on a chessboard. The next day, I printed everything, and gave it all to my lawyer. Every screenshot, every lie. We filed for full custody, a restraining order, and financial protection. But then, another twist. Mark's employer called me 2 days later. Hi, this is Megan from HR. We're trying to reach Mark. He hasn't shown up all week. Is everything okay? I blinked. He's been going to work every day. At least that's what he told me. No, he left last Friday, and hasn't returned. We've called, but there's been no response. I checked his location on my phone. Dead. I checked his email. Deleted. I went to the bank. Our joint account was drained, over $180,000 gone. The last transaction was in another city, Denver. Mark had vanished. He ran. He ran with our money. He left me, Tasha, his 3 kids, and just disappeared. Now I'm here with 2 lawyers, a private investigator, and 2 broken homes. I thought I married a man who didn't want more kids. Turns out, I married a man who wanted a secret empire. And I think it's not just us, because the PI just told me they found a 3rd woman in Colorado, and she gave birth last year. I didn't sleep for 3 nights. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Mark's face. Not the man I married, but the man he really was. The man behind the charm, the fake smile, and the whispered lies. The PI confirmed it a week later. Mark was in Denver, living under a fake name. He rented a small apartment using cash and a prepaid phone. And yes, the rumors were true. There was a 3rd woman. Her name was Natalie. She had a 10-month-old baby girl, the same age as Sophie. The math lined up perfectly. Natalie didn't know about me, or Tasha, or the kids. She thought Mark was a traveling construction worker, who only came back every few weeks. He told her he had custody issues, and a crazy ex who stalked him. Sound familiar? I wanted to scream. Instead, I flew to Denver. Tasha came with me. We met Natalie at a cafe. She brought the baby. She looked nervous, like she already sensed something wasn't right. We sat down. I handed her the folder, the one with all the proof records, photos, texts, emails. A family tree Mark never meant for anyone to see. She flipped through it, her hand flying to her mouth. Is this real? I nodded. He's the father of my daughter. She whispered. He's the father of 3 daughters. She looked like she couldn't breathe. Tasha reached across the table. You didn't know. We didn't either. But now we do. Natalie's hands were shaking. What do we do now? That's when the idea came. Not just revenge, but justice. We filed a report with the Denver PD. Financial fraud, child endangerment, bigamy, abandonment. We hired a lawyer together. We froze his accounts. We flagged his social security number. We submitted everything to child services in all 3 states involved. We put his name and face on every parent forum, every social media group, every local news tip line. We created a profile. Mark R. wanted for abandoning 3 families in 3 states. It went viral. The comments poured in. And then something none of us expected. Another woman reached out. A 4th. No kids, but she said she dated Mark for 6 months while he was with all of us. He told her he was single, just busy with work. He promised to marry her. She gave him $4,000 for a startup, and then he ghosted her. This time, it was her who found him. She took a photo of him getting into a rental car in Colorado Springs and sent it to us. He had changed his hair, grown a beard, and was wearing sunglasses, but it was him. I called the PI and gave him the tip. He tracked Mark's car to a motel. The cops were waiting. He tried to run, but didn't get far. They arrested him for fraud, identity deception, and child support violations. He was handcuffed in front of that dusty old motel in his $12 Walmart jeans, looking like a man who had finally run out of road. And that's when I did the final thing. I wrote to every woman he ever dated, every girl he cheated with, every lie he told. I wrote it all down. Then I submitted the story to a true crime blog. They published it under the headline, "The Man with 3 Families, How One Mother Brought a Sociopath to His Knees." It hit 1 million views in 3 days. Mark's mugshot was everywhere. His employer fired him. His license was revoked. His reputation was ruined. He's in prison now for 7 years. No parole. Tasha is building a new life. Natalie got full custody and support. And me? I testified in court, looked him dead in the eye, and said, "You didn't just lie. You built a world out of lies, and now it's crashing down." He didn't say a word, didn't even cry. He just looked tired, like the act was over, and he didn't know who he was anymore without it. And yes, I made mistakes. I ignored the red flags, trusted too much, forgave too fast. I let charm blind me, but I also ended it. I exposed him. I protected my kids. And now when Sophie gets older and asks where her dad is, I'll tell her the truth. Then I'll show her how I survived him.